Hi friends. If you know anything about space, the re-entry of an object back into the atmosphere is actually a pretty technical thing. In fact, if you don't hit the atmosphere the exact right way with the right angle geometrically, you can literally bounce off of the atmosphere back into space. And so as space shuttles and vehicles essentially are re-entering, and we've had a couple over the last month or two from private launch companies, SpaceX and Blue Origin, as they're coming in at just the right angle, when they actually re-enter the atmosphere, the outside can get up to 3,000 degrees on the re-entry process. And so imagine you are hightailing it from space all the way to the exact right angle of the atmosphere, and you hit it at 3,000 miles an hour. That is a white knuckle experience. Nobody is doing a Sunday stroll at that kind of level of entry, speed, and temperature. And so the 2022 and the 2023 stock market and economy is a re-entry period. As an economic system, COVID essentially blasted us into outer space. We had a $2 trillion hole that Congress and the President and the US Treasury Department plugged with $5 trillion and then put $1 trillion in people's pockets to go spend to buy things they didn't help make and consume while they sat at home. So we are in the process, and it's not over, of a white knuckle re-entry into normalized and more normal interest rates, inflation, and economic environment. So let's take a glance at what we believe the future of inflation, the Fed, and interest rates look like. Number one, inflation. Inflation is directly related to the money supply. It's like this. If you stick 40 gallons of water in a bathtub, tell me how many gallons have to evaporate out of that bathtub for there to be no water in there? 40 gallons. Well, the Treasury, by printing money, essentially shot the money supply up by over 40%. So how do we get inflation back down? We have to absorb, as an economy and a consumer, 40+% inflation. That's the only way that money comes out. So we are looking at a longer and a multi-year inflationary pattern. Now, there are certain things we can do to speed that up and mitigate its impact, but if the Federal Reserve, and they've said this, they intend to aim inflation at a 2% range, we are a long way from that. And so the inflation picture it's here to stay. Now, the Fed came into 2022 and said, we intend on raising approximately 3 times in the second half of 2022 at about 25 basis points, or 1/4% each time, for a total of 75 basis points. And then we may raise 7 to 10 times in 2024, depending on the environment. So they committed to the markets, to the economists, and to the public. They were intending on doing somewhere between 10 and 13 or 14 rate hikes at 25 basis points each over a 2-year window. They've raised the equivalent of 17 times at 25 basis points each over a 7.5-month window. So nobody, including the Fed, had any idea just how aggressive they would be. And listen, our posture is this. We believe the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates until they break something. And what we believe they're going to break is the economy, which will ultimately lead to recession by mid-2023 or so. Now, there's still an outside chance they can re-enter at the right angle and do what they've called a soft landing, but it is not hopeful as it relates to the Fed being able to pull that off. Now, we believe the Federal Reserve is likely, this brings us to our third point, which is interest rates, is likely going to raise interest rates 50 basis points now, another 50 basis points in February, and probably 25 basis points each in March and in May, for a total additional raising of about 1.5%, and we may be off, give or take on that. But the point is simple. We believe inflation is here to stay. We believe the Fed is going to raise rates until they break something, and then we believe interest rates are going to keep going up. Now, fortunately, we've already started some very, very unique risk management, dividend and cash flow producing, and volatility control investments. Because look, NIBR, the National Economic Bureau of Research, judges recessions or deems recessions on 6 different metrics. The most recent report showed that 5 of those 6 metrics were positive. We are not in recession, but we believe that the Fed does not drastically change their course of action. That's exactly where we're headed in the next 6 months or so. So what are we doing? We're doing exactly what we need to be doing to prepare for that. Now stay tuned. We've got more to come in the weeks ahead, and we're looking for an actual get together in the first 30 to 45 days of the year to talk about the exact ways from an investment perspective we're going to navigate. Hang tight, stay tuned. Thanks for watching.